Most advice about building habits gets the problem wrong. It tells you to try harder, wake up earlier, want it more. But wanting is not the issue. The brain does not resist new habits because you lack discipline. It resists them because they have no address. They float, unanchored, in a day already packed with automatic behavior. The real question is not how to add more willpower. It is where exactly does the new behavior live? There is a particular kind of discouragement that comes not from failure, but from unexplained collapse. You started well. The first few days, maybe even the first 2 weeks, you managed. Then something small shifted, a busy morning, a late meeting, and the whole routine dissolved as if it had never been there. This happens so consistently that most people blame character. They decide they're simply not someone who exercises in the morning, or meditates, or reads before bed. But the research suggests the problem is almost never character. It is architecture. The routines that survive in your life are not the ones attached to the most motivation. They are the ones attached to other routines. Brushing your teeth does not require willpower because it travels inside a larger convoy of automatic behavior. It arrives after waking, before breakfast, beside the mirror. The context carries it. What we tend to call discipline, in cases like these, is really just a well-structured sequence. And once you see that, the entire question of how to build something new shifts. It stops being a problem of character. It becomes a problem of placement. In 2002, psychologist B.J. Fogg began what would eventually become a formal model of behavior change, later published in his book, Tiny Habits, in 2019. One of his core insights was that motivation is unreliable as an anchor for new behavior. What works instead is an existing routine that triggers the new one automatically through proximity and repetition. The mechanism has a satisfying logic. The brain organizes habitual behavior in chunks. Neuroscientist Anne Graybiel documented this in research at MIT across the 1990s and 2000s. Habits are not stored as individual actions. They are stored as sequences, what Graybiel called chunking, where a cue activates an entire behavioral chain without deliberate thought. This is why stopping midway through a morning routine feels genuinely uncomfortable. The chunk wants to complete. When you attach a new behavior to an existing chunk, you are not fighting the brain's automation. You are borrowing it. The cue that used to trigger only one behavior now triggers two. The sequence expands. Over repeated trials, the new behavior begins to inherit the automaticity of the old one. James Clear named this principle habit stacking in Atomic Habits, published in 2018, and offered a clean structural formula. After I do this, I will do that. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write one sentence. After I sit down at my desk, I will review my 3 priorities. The specificity is not rhetorical. It is functional. Vague intentions leave the brain without a cue. Precise ones hand it a trigger it can use. The research behind this is more rigorous than most habit advice acknowledges. Phillippa Lally and colleagues at University College London examined how long habit formation actually takes under real conditions. Their finding contradicted the popular claim that habits form in 21 days. The actual median was closer to 66 days. The range extended to over 200 days for more complex behaviors. What surprises me about that finding is not the number itself, but what it implies about failure. If you expected a habit to be automatic in 3 weeks, and it is not, you conclude something is wrong with you. But if you knew the true window, you would hold on. Context-specific repetition, doing the behavior in the same place after the same cue each time, was the strongest predictor of automaticity in Lally's data. There is a related finding. in Charles Duhigg's reporting in The Power of Habit, published in 2012, which drew on neurological and behavioral research to describe how cue routine reward loops become self-sustaining. The reward does not have to be large. It has to be immediate and predictable. When a small habit produces a tiny, reliable sense of completion, the loop encodes faster. This is why stacking to existing behavior is so effective. The anchor routine already carries its own reward signal. The new behavior arrives inside that signal and begins to inherit it. You are not building from nothing. You are grafting onto something the brain already trusts. The stack has to be honest about your actual life, not your ideal one. Most people design habits around a version of themselves that wakes at 6, has a quiet kitchen, and feels calm. That person exists occasionally. The rest of the time, there is noise, lateness, resistance, and a half-finished cup of coffee going cold on the counter. A habit stack built for the ideal life collapses the first time real life appears. The more durable approach is to anchor to what Fogg called a reliable anchor. Not your best morning, but your most consistent one. Not the ritual you wish you had, but the one that actually happens every single day, almost without thought. That is where the new behavior should attach. Start with one link. After I put the kettle on, I will do 2 minutes of stretching. After I close my laptop at the end of the day, I will write one thing I want to do tomorrow. The size matters less than the specificity and the consistency of the anchor. Carr Nur, Men's Work in Thinking Fast and Slow, published in 2011, offers a useful frame here. System 1, thinking, fast, automatic, associative, is where habits live. Every time you make a new behavior, fight for conscious attention, you are pulling it into System 2, which is effortful and exhaustible. The goal of stacking is to shepherd the new behavior into System 1 as quickly as possible, by making its context as predictable as the behavior it follows. Over time, the stack becomes invisible. You stop noticing the effort because there is no longer any effort to notice. The behavior has found its address in your day, and the day carries it forward without being asked. If these ideas are useful to you, there is more on this channel about the way the mind builds and breaks its own patterns. Subscribe if you want to keep building a better map of your own mind.